Welcome to the shop. In today's video, we're going to find out if it's possible to melt and cast sulfur like we do with metal. In a recent video, we tried this with salt and we came up with some really interesting results and some cool looking castings. So I'm hoping we can do something similar with sulfur, and it should be pretty cool because sulfur is really bizarre and it even has two different melting points. Sulfur. I bought a few different forms of sulfur here. This is 10 pounds of powder. I'm not sure we're going to use that much. I guess we'll find out. Yeah, that looks like a lot. Oh my God. Yeah, that smells like farts. And this should be like chunks of sulfur. Oh, that's weird looking. Almost looks kind of gross, like flesh or something. Something really interesting about sulfur is that you can actually set it on fire, which is where the expression fire and brimstone comes from, brimstone being just an archaic name for sulfur. But it does produce a lot of sulfur dioxide gas, so if you do this, you're definitely going to want to wear a respirator. Hey, where's my respirator? You'll probably be all right. You just told them that it produces sulfur dioxide. I don't want to breathe that. All right, I guess I'll hold my breath and talk at the same time. Thanks a lot. Sulfur is a super useful element. We use it all the time in our daily lives, from the rubber in our car tires to even pharmaceuticals. It really is everywhere. But there is one use that's hundreds of years old that I'd be willing to bet not a lot of you have ever heard of, and it's something that we're going to be trying in today's video. But first, I'm going to go get some air. Hey, thanks a lot, man. Have fun with your little fire. All right, let's see if we can actually cast something. So in my last video where we tried to cast salt, we made a few of these skulls, which I think turned out really cool looking. We also made a megalodon tooth, a statue, and even a salt dagger. Unfortunately, the dagger broke apart, but I'm gonna try again using the sulfur. Something about a sulfur dagger sounds kind of cool to me. I'll also try casting some skulls, and if these turn out all right, then maybe we can make a megalodon tooth also. Melting sulfur is supposed to be really interesting because it has two different liquid phases. The first is kind of amber colored and really watery, but if you increase the temperature, it becomes dark red and really viscous. And the temperature difference between those two phases is actually not very much at all. I think it's like 15 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm going to do my best to keep this in that first more watery phase. That way I'll actually be able to pour these molds, because if it becomes too viscous, there's no way that this is going to flow into the molds. Sulfur. This reminds me of melting butter. I feel like I'm baking right now. Also, the way I'm holding this is kind of sketchy. When I first started, the band was a lot tighter. Now that it's warmed up, it's expanded slightly, and it's not holding onto the beaker as well as I would like. This is taking a really long time. I'm going to try to pull this out and then add some powder. I just got done pouring all these things, and look at how beautiful these crystals are. After I poured the molds, there was still quite a bit of sulfur left in this beaker, so I just set it on the table, and in a few minutes I realized that it was forming these crystals, so I poured off the remaining liquid, and look what we ended up with. These things look absolutely incredible. We also got some really nice looking crystals that formed on these, and what's interesting is that the surface is really sticky and it's starting to develop these lighter spots that are spreading like a disease. All right, let's open these things up and see how they look. Yeah, definitely stuck to the sand. This is really stuck on there. I was just about to give up until I tried this thing, and it's taken the sand right off. Well, I'm really happy with how this turned out. I thought it was ruined because I couldn't get the sand off, but I actually was eventually able to get it all off of there, and it looks pretty good. What's really fascinating are all these little dots here. They're spreading, almost like a disease on this thing, and what that is, I believe, is the sulfur molecules rearranging and forming a more stable form of sulfur. This thing was only cast about an hour ago, so it's happening really fast, and I guess in no time at all, we won't even be able to tell. Yeah, and if you're wondering, my shop does smell absolutely horrible. It smells like someone's been laying gigantic, horrible, stinky farts in here all day. And I know what that smells like. So let's open up the dagger mold and see what that thing looks like. Ah, dang. Well, I just spent about an hour trying to clean all the sand off this thing that seems to have reacted to the sulfur. It's formed a really hard crust on the surface that's like impossible to get off. And I only use this sand because this is what I normally cast metal with, so it seemed like a good place to start, but I'm gonna try something else now. I wanna make some molds out of silicone rubber. I don't see any reason why this shouldn't work because silicone rubber has a really high heat tolerance. All right, we got our silicone mold cast and ready to go. Let's see what happens. Oh, and I also made some open molds. All right, let's see what this thing looks like. Yeah, not too bad. Nice. I like how the crystals formed right on top. Let me show you. There are some bubbles on the surface, and if you look inside the bubbles, you can see where the crystals have formed. That's pretty cool. Right in there, got a bunch of crystals over here too. I don't see a ton of cracks. Unfortunately, the tip is broken off, but it's just the tip. Yes, got it. Ha, look at that, that looks good. All right, let's see what this skull looks like. That's coming out of the mold real easily. Look at that, that looks great. And now the trilobite. That worked really well. All right, so silicone molds are the way to go. If you ever cast sulfur, do it in a silicone mold. Probably no one else on the planet wants to do this but me. You can really see what I mean about those white spots. This is the one that I cast in sand, and this is one I just cast in the silicone. And pretty soon, this one will look just like that one. I wonder if I can glue the tip back on with some super glue. I guess it worked. Well, I think we answered the question. You can definitely cast sulfur with varying degrees of success. Now, I have no idea what the applications for this might be. I really don't think there are any. If you know, let me know in the comments, but I think the only one would be just making a silly video. Also, this stuff smells just rotten. For whatever reason, the sulfur that has been melted and resolidified smells quite a bit worse than just the raw sulfur that I bought. It has a rotten smell to it, and actually flies are attracted to it. At the start of the video, I mentioned a use for sulfur that's hundreds of years old and one that you probably have never heard of, and we're gonna do that right now. So what I have here is a piece of walnut that I carved my logo into. And if you don't already know, these are my initials, SR. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pour liquid sulfur in here and then shave it off, and we should be left with a really nice looking inlay. All All right, I just poured this in here and there's some bubbles forming, so I'm trying to pop the bubbles with this little torch. You can actually, oh, I set it on fire. All right, now I'm gonna try to shave off the excess before it gets too hard. There we go. Well, there we go, a sulfur inlay. It actually doesn't look too bad. This is my very first time doing this, so I think with some practice you could probably figure out how to get rid of the bubbles, but overall it doesn't look that bad. It looks kind of white on camera, but it's actually yellow. It's just hard to tell on camera. I can definitely see why this technique has been around because it works really well. For the amount of effort, this is a pretty good looking inlay, I think. All right, well, I think that about wraps this up. I gotta say, I'm pretty happy to be done with casting sulfur. This stuff is not fun to cast with, and it smells like death. Unfortunately, this one also broke into pieces. I don't know how that happened. I just set it down, and a couple days later, it looked like this, so who knows? Well, thanks for watching, and thank you to all my Patreon supporters that help keep this channel alive. I really, really appreciate the support. I'll see you in the next one.